Every dream collapses without one thing: discipline. Not talent, not luck, not motivation. Discipline is the hidden engine that keeps you moving long after excitement fades. It's the difference between wishing for change and actually creating it. In this audiobook, you'll discover how to build a kind of discipline so strong it becomes unshakable, a force that carries you through resistance, failure, and doubt. This isn't about rules, it's about power. Power over yourself, and power over the life you choose to build. Comfort is seductive. It whispers safety, ease, and relief. But what it truly offers is a cage, soft and invisible, made of habits that weaken the will. These are the chains of comfort shackles that feel good while slowly draining strength. Comfort convinces you that tomorrow will always be available. It says you can start later, try later, become better later, but later rarely comes. The chains grow tighter with every excuse until the will to act fades entirely. The strategist knows that comfort is not rest, it is stagnation. True rest prepares you for action, but comfort delays it indefinitely. When you live in comfort too long, the muscles of the body, mind, and spirit decay. Discipline is the key that unlocks those chains. Unlike comfort, discipline does not seduce, it demands. It demands sacrifice, commitment, and endurance. Yet, through that demand, it offers freedom, the power to choose growth over weakness. The chains of comfort are hidden in small choices: sleeping in a little longer, skipping one more workout, putting off a difficult conversation. Each decision feels harmless, but together they weave a net that keeps you bound. Breaking those chains requires awareness. You cannot escape what you cannot see. The first step is recognizing when comfort is no longer healing but enslaving. Awareness turns invisible chains into visible locks, ready to be opened. Discipline begins where excuses end. The moment you say, "I will do it anyway," you place the first key into the lock. Discipline does not ask for perfection, it asks for consistency, the willingness to act even when comfort screams louder. Comfort thrives in repetition. It lures you with the same easy habits, repeated until they feel natural. Discipline breaks the cycle by creating new habits, harder at first, but stronger with time. Each new habit becomes a key, forged in persistence. The mind resists discipline because comfort feels good. But the strategist reminds themselves that feeling good now often means feeling weak later. Discipline flips the equation: endure discomfort now, live with strength later. Chains grow heavy in silence. No one may see your laziness, your avoidance, your wasted hours, but you feel their weight. The strategist carries no such burden. They break the chains daily, lightening the soul through deliberate action. Discipline thrives on small victories. Each time you act against comfort, you create proof that you are stronger than your impulses. These proofs are keys, each one unlocking more belief, more resilience, more freedom. Comfort kills ambition slowly. It convinces you that you are satisfied with less, that goals can shrink to fit your laziness. Discipline keeps ambition alive, reminding you that greatness never grows in softness. Chains are broken by sacrifice. To live with discipline, you must give up ease, distraction, and instant pleasure. Yet, each sacrifice is not loss, but trade the small for the great, the fleeting for the lasting. The strategist does not wait for motivation to escape the chains. They know motivation is unreliable. Discipline acts without waiting, striking the lock again and again until it shatters. Action becomes the only true key. Comfort disguises itself as happiness, but it is hollow. Lasting happiness is born of progress, of growth, of becoming stronger. Discipline delivers this happiness, carving it from effort and persistence. The chains of comfort often feel unbreakable because they are reinforced by fear. Fear of failure, fear of pain, fear of struggle. But the strategist knows fear is another lock. One more key forged in courage can open it. Discipline transforms identity. Once you break one chain, you stop seeing yourself as weak or trapped. You begin to see yourself as capable, resilient, and free. Identity is the strongest key because it prevents the chains from ever closing again. Comfort shrinks time. Hours vanish in distraction. Days blur together in wasted ease. Discipline expands time. Every hour has meaning. Every day builds something. Every moment moves you closer to freedom. The strategist knows the chains of comfort are never fully gone. They wait, ready to wrap around you again. That is why discipline must be forged daily, a constant act of unlocking, a constant refusal to be bound again. Each broken chain becomes a lesson. The more you resist comfort, the more you learn about your strength. Over time, these lessons pile up, forming an arsenal of keys that can open any lock the mind creates. Discipline is not glamorous. It is often quiet, repetitive, unseen. But its results are loud: health, success, resilience, peace. These results are proof that the chains were never stronger than the keys you carried all along. The strategist sees discipline not as burden, but as weapon. Every act of control, every step forward against resistance, is a strike against the chains. Over time, the chains no longer hold power. They rust, break, and vanish. Comfort will always tempt you back. It will whisper, asterisk, just this once. Asterisk. But the disciplined mind answers, asterisk, not today. Asterisk. Each refusal strengthens your grip on the keys, ensuring the chains never return to full strength. The chains of comfort and the keys of discipline are choices. Each moment presents both the chance to remain bound or the chance to unlock freedom. The strategist chooses the key, again and again. Discipline is not a cage, but a key. It may feel heavy in your hand, but with it, you can unlock every door comfort tries to keep closed. Freedom belongs to the disciplined. Laziness is like gravity. It pulls you downward, holding you in place when you long to rise. The harder you try to move, the stronger it seems to drag you back. Yet, like gravity, its power can be broken with the right force applied in the right direction. Laziness is not always obvious. It hides behind comfort, procrastination, and excuses. It convinces you that resting a little longer is harmless, when in truth, each delay strengthens its grip. Breaking free requires recognizing laziness for what it is, a silent thief of time. The first step in escaping laziness is momentum. Just as rockets break free of Earth's pull with a single thrust, action, even a small one, creates energy that weakens laziness. Starting is the hardest part, but it is also the key to escape. Discipline is the fuel that powers this escape. Without discipline, momentum fades, and gravity pulls you back. With discipline, each action compounds, turning small sparks of effort into roaring flames of progress. Laziness thrives in indecision. When you hesitate, it seizes control, whispering reasons to delay. The strategist cuts indecision short by choosing quickly. The faster the decision, the weaker laziness becomes. The gravity of laziness grows heavier with comfort. The more you give in to ease, the harder it becomes to rise. The strategist limits indulgence, knowing that every unnecessary comfort increases the pull downward. Breaking laziness requires vision. Without a clear picture of where you're going, it's easy to stay still. Vision creates a target, a point of gravity stronger than laziness itself, pulling you upward instead of down. Laziness is strengthened by doubt. When you question your ability, you hesitate, and hesitation feeds inaction. The strategist breaks this cycle by acting before doubt has time to grow. Doubt cannot control a moving mind. Environment fuels laziness. Clutter, distraction, and negative influences create weight that drags you down. By shaping an environment of focus, the strategist reduces resistance, clearing a path for effort to rise. The body mirrors the mind. When the body is neglected, energy dwindles, and laziness gains ground. The strategist trains the body to move, knowing physical strength reinforces mental strength, weakening laziness on both fronts. The gravity of laziness is strongest at the beginning. Once motion begins, its power weakens. The strategist embraces the first 5 minutes of action, knowing that starting is the true victory. Excuses are laziness in disguise. They sound logical, but serve only to delay. The strategist strips away excuses by asking, asterisk, is this true, or is this comfort speaking? Asterisk. In this way, they separate reason from resistance. Breaking laziness requires consistency. A single burst of effort may lift you temporarily, but gravity always returns. Daily discipline, repeated, builds a trajectory too strong for laziness to drag back. The strategist treats laziness like a rival. Competing against it transforms the struggle into a game of strength. Each day resisted is a victory. Each task completed a point scored. Over time, victory becomes inevitable. Laziness thrives in the absence of urgency. When goals feel distant, effort feels optional. The strategist creates urgency by setting deadlines, milestones, and challenges, ensuring that energy remains sharp and directed. The gravity of laziness weakens when energy is managed. Sleep, nutrition, and focus all create fuel. Without fuel, even the strongest will falters. The strategist treats energy as a resource, protecting it to stay beyond laziness's reach. Laziness often strikes hardest when you are close to progress. Just before breakthroughs, resistance grows strongest. The strategist recognizes this pattern and pushes harder, knowing that pressure signals proximity to growth. Routine is a weapon against laziness. By automating habits, effort becomes less negotiable. The strategist builds routines that carry them forward, even on days when energy is low. Laziness cannot pull against a machine already moving. Laziness disguises itself as rest. True rest restores energy, but laziness drains it further. The strategist learns to differentiate, refusing to confuse indulgence with recovery. Proper rest weakens laziness, but indulgence strengthens it. Accountability breaks laziness. When others depend on you, you rise even when you don't feel like it. The strategist surrounds themselves with accountability, ensuring laziness cannot thrive in secrecy. The mind must be retrained to see laziness not as relief, but as theft. Every wasted hour is gone forever. The strategist reframes effort as freedom and laziness as a trap. This shift creates internal resistance against inaction. Breaking the gravity of laziness requires persistence. You may relapse, you may falter, but returning to discipline again and again eventually weakens its hold. Persistence is the true counterweight. Laziness is destroyed by identity. When you see yourself as disciplined, strong, and focused, acting lazy feels unnatural. Identity pulls you forward when willpower weakens, ensuring the escape continues. Laziness is heavy, but not unbeatable. With discipline, momentum, vision, and persistence, you can break its pull. The moment you rise above it, you discover that freedom was always within reach. The strategist chooses effort over excuses, action over delay, freedom over gravity. Laziness may pull, but discipline always lifts higher. Motivation is a spark. It burns hot, but it burns fast. It excites the mind and floods the body with energy, but as quickly as it rises, it fades. Discipline is the firewood that keeps the flame alive long after the spark dies. Relying on motivation is like chasing the weather. Some days it shines, some days it storms. Discipline ignores the forecast. It gets up, does the work, and moves forward regardless of conditions. That is why discipline outlives motivation. Motivation thrives on emotion. When you feel inspired, it flows. When you feel down, it vanishes. Discipline thrives on decision. It does not ask how you feel, it simply asks what must be done, and then it does it. The strategist understands that motivation is unreliable. Waiting for it means progress will always be inconsistent. Instead, they build routines anchored in discipline, ensuring that effort continues even when inspiration is gone. Discipline is a system, not a mood. While motivation comes and goes like tides, discipline builds structures that stand firm. Habits, schedules, and commitments act as anchors, holding steady when feelings drift. Motivation tempts you with bursts of effort. You push hard one day and collapse the next. Discipline is slow and steady. It stacks small actions, one on top of another, until progress becomes unshakable. The mind often confuses excitement with commitment. Motivation is excitement. It feels powerful but is temporary. Commitment belongs to discipline. It binds you even when excitement has disappeared. The strategist chooses commitment over thrill. Motivation can't carry you through hardship. When resistance grows, it often disappears. Discipline, however, thrives under pressure. It is forged in discomfort, built for the days when nothing feels easy. Discipline is a promise to yourself. It is a contract written in persistence, not emotion. Each time you honor that promise, you strengthen self-respect. Motivation gives energy, but discipline builds identity. The strategist uses motivation as fuel, but never as foundation. When it appears, they ride its energy. When it vanishes, they lean on discipline. This balance ensures that effort never stops, no matter how feelings shift. Motivation is external more often than internal. It comes from speeches, books, or others' words. Discipline is internal. It is self-forged, unshakable, because it belongs entirely to you. The strategist trusts the power they own, not what they borrow. Without discipline, motivation turns to regret. You start with excitement but stop before finishing, leaving projects incomplete. Discipline ensures follow-through, turning sparks into lasting flames of achievement. Motivation is fragile under temptation. Distractions easily pull it away. Discipline resists distraction because it does not negotiate. It answers temptation with action, proving that consistency always wins. The death of motivation often feels like failure, but to the strategist, it is simply a test. Will you stop when excitement ends, or will you continue because you must? Discipline answers that test every time. Motivation builds enthusiasm. Discipline builds endurance. Endurance is the power that carries you through long journeys where enthusiasm cannot last. Greatness is not won in moments of excitement, but in years of endurance. Motivation can inspire beginnings, but discipline ensures endings. Anyone can start a race with energy, but only the disciplined cross the finish line. Completion is the mark of disciplined survival. The strategist reframes discipline as freedom. Motivation feels good but enslaves you to emotion. Discipline frees you from moods, giving you control over your path regardless of how you feel. Discipline also creates momentum. Motivation is quick but inconsistent, starting and stopping. Discipline never stops. Momentum compounds, making progress easier and faster over time. When motivation dies, excuses rise. Laziness tells you to wait for the spark to return. Discipline silences excuses by acting anyway. Action becomes the cure for hesitation. Discipline thrives on small daily wins. It does not wait for grand moments but builds strength in routine. Each small act is proof that you can move forward, even without inspiration. The strategist knows that mastery belongs to the disciplined, not the motivated. Talent and excitement fade, but consistency builds skill. Discipline keeps sharpening until mastery is inevitable. Motivation is like wind in your sails. It helps, but without discipline, the ship drifts aimlessly. Discipline is the rudder and oars, carrying you forward even when the wind is gone. The mind, trained in discipline, does not collapse when motivation dies. Instead, it grows stronger, proving that progress was never dependent on feelings. Strength lies in doing the work regardless. Discipline survives because it does not depend on chance. Motivation may visit, but discipline lives with you. It becomes your constant companion, your unshakable guide, the superpower that ensures every step continues forward. Motivation may begin the journey, but discipline finishes it. When the spark dies, the fire built on discipline burns. On and in that fire, greatness is forged. Every day begins with a battle most people never recognize: the war within. It is not fought with weapons, but with choices. Every decision you make, either strengthens the disciplined self or feeds the weaker one that seeks comfort. The battlefield of this war is ordinary life. It happens when the alarm rings at dawn, when the temptation to scroll on your phone whispers, when the voice in your mind says, "Not today." These small moments are where victory or defeat is decided. The enemy within is subtle. It disguises itself as reason, telling you to rest longer, to skip today's effort, to wait until you feel ready. The strategist recognizes this voice as resistance, the inner opposition that thrives on delay. Discipline is the weapon forged for this war. Each act of self-control is a strike against weakness. The more consistently you act in alignment with your goals, the weaker the enemy becomes. This war is daily because comfort is relentless. Every day, it renews its attack, whispering excuses, tempting with ease, and convincing you that surrender costs nothing. The strategist knows that every surrender makes tomorrow's battle harder. Victory begins with awareness. You cannot win against an enemy you cannot see. By naming the voice of resistance for what it is, fear, laziness, or distraction, you disarm its disguise and prepare to fight. The war is not about perfection. No soldier wins every skirmish. The goal is persistence, returning to the battle every day, refusing to give in completely, and reclaiming ground even after setbacks. Small wins accumulate into strength. Rising when you don't want to, completing one more task, resisting one more excuse. Each victory builds a stronger identity. The disciplined self gains ground with every act of resistance. The enemy within uses comfort as a weapon. It reminds you of how pleasant it feels to stop, how easy it would be to give up. But the strategist remembers that pleasure now often means regret later. The war with yourself requires structure. Routines and habits are shields that protect you when your willpower weakens. By making discipline automatic, you reduce the chances of defeat in daily battles. Discipline is also armor against emotions. Feelings rise and fall. Some days you are motivated, others you are drained. Armor ensures that no matter how you feel, you can still push forward and win. The strategist understands that this war never ends. Victory today does not guarantee victory tomorrow, but each day fought makes you sharper, stronger, and more resilient for the next encounter. Self-doubt is a frequent weapon of the enemy. It whispers, "You can't win this fight." The disciplined self answers, "I already have. Every day, I choose action over excuse." Confidence grows through this repetition of triumph. Distraction is another battlefield tactic. Laziness doesn't always tell you to stop. It tells you to do something easier. The strategist resists diversion, focusing energy on what truly matters instead of what merely feels productive. The daily war also demands endurance. Winning one battle is easy. Winning every day, for months and years, requires stamina. The strategist builds endurance by mastering small, repeatable acts that carry them forward. Fear often joins the fight. It tells you that effort will fail, that risk is too great, that striving is pointless. But fear cannot withstand action. Each step forward dissolves its power, proving that courage is discipline in motion. The war with yourself sharpens clarity. You begin to see the patterns of resistance, the times it strikes hardest, and the tactics it uses. This awareness gives you an advantage, like knowing the enemy's playbook before battle. Discipline is not loud in this war. It does not roar or boast. It speaks quietly through action, through showing up, through repetition. Its silence wins where excuses scream loudly, but vanish under pressure. The strategist fights this war by remembering the cost of defeat. Every lost battle is not just wasted time. It is a blow to self-respect. Discipline restores that respect by proving that you can govern yourself. Each day's war begins the moment you wake. Snoozing the alarm is the first battle. Rising instead is victory. From that moment, the tone of the day is set. Momentum is won or lost in the first minutes. The enemy is clever, but it is not invincible. Its power depends on your compliance. The moment you stop listening, the moment you act despite it, its grip weakens. Laziness only wins if you hand it victory. The strategist sees discipline not as punishment, but as freedom in disguise. Every act of discipline is a declaration. Asterisk, I control myself, not my impulses. Asterisk. Freedom is won not through surrender, but through mastery. The war with yourself is the most important war you will ever fight. If you cannot conquer your own resistance, no external battle can truly be won. Mastery of self is the foundation of every other victory. And so, the strategist fights not for comfort, not for ease, but for control. Each day, they enter the war. And each day, through discipline, they carve another step towards strength, freedom, and destiny. The war with yourself never disappears, but you learn to fight better. And with every disciplined choice, the weaker self fades, and the stronger one emerges, proven, hardened, and unstoppable. Freedom is not free, it is purchased through sacrifice. Every great life, every meaningful achievement, has been built on the willingness to give up something lesser for something greater. The disciplined mind understands this trade, while the undisciplined cling to comfort and lose everything. Sacrifice is not punishment, it is investment. When you give up comfort, distraction, or pleasure, you are paying the cost of progress. Those who fear sacrifice settle for mediocrity. Those who embrace it unlock freedom. The first sacrifice demanded is time. Time spent in ease or distraction could have been invested in growth. The strategist understands that time is currency, and spending it wisely means choosing effort over indulgence. Sacrifice often feels painful because it demands what you value in the moment. Sleep, leisure, comfort, all must sometimes be given up. But each moment of sacrifice plants seeds that grow into strength, resilience, and opportunity. The hidden price of freedom is not obvious at first. Many expect success to come cheaply, but the cost always reveals itself. The strategist accepts this truth early, embracing sacrifice instead of resisting it. Discipline transforms sacrifice into habit. At first, the loss feels heavy, but over time, it becomes routine. What once felt like giving up now feels like choosing wisely. This shift is the foundation of lasting freedom. Sacrifice also strips away illusions. It forces you to confront what truly matters. When you give up the unnecessary, your vision sharpens, your priorities align, and you see the path to freedom more clearly. The greatest sacrifice is often ego. You must be willing to look foolish, to fail, to struggle in front of others. The strategist does not cling to pride. They sacrifice reputation for growth, knowing freedom lies beyond fear of judgment. Sacrifice requires courage. It asks you to step into the unknown without guarantees. Comfort offers certainty. Sacrifice offers possibility. The strategist chooses possibility, even when it demands risk. The hidden price of freedom is consistency. Sacrifice is not a single act but a way of living. Day after day, small choices accumulate, creating progress invisible at first but undeniable over time. Sacrifice sharpens discipline. When you repeatedly deny the weaker impulse, you strengthen the stronger one. Each act of sacrifice becomes proof that you can control yourself, building confidence in your power. The undisciplined see sacrifice as loss. The disciplined see it as liberation. By sacrificing comfort, they escape chains of laziness. By sacrificing excuses, they unlock action. By sacrificing weakness, they gain strength. Sacrifice is not glamorous. It is quiet, lonely, and often unseen. While others enjoy temporary pleasures, you work in silence. Yet, when results arrive, the sacrifice that once felt invisible becomes undeniable. The hidden price of freedom is patience. You must give up the need for instant results. Sacrifice teaches you to endure the waiting, to trust the process, and to believe that the future is worth the present cost. Sacrifice also demands energy. To push forward, you must give up the ease of passivity. Energy spent in discipline feels draining at first, but it returns tenfold in the rewards it creates. Sacrifice teaches resilience. By giving up what is easy, you strengthen the ability to endure what is hard. Resilience is not built in comfort, but in sacrifice repeated until it becomes second nature. The strategist understands that sacrifice multiplies. One small act often opens doors to greater opportunities. Giving up an hour of distraction may lead to years of freedom gained in mastery and success. Sacrifice reveals who you are. In moments of choice, you discover what you truly value. Do you cling to comfort, or do you reach for freedom? Each decision writes the story of your life. Sacrifice is misunderstood because it feels like loss in the present. Yet the disciplined see beyond the moment. They know that what feels like giving up today is actually gaining tomorrow. The hidden price of freedom is discipline itself. To live disciplined is to live sacrificially, to repeatedly choose the long term over the short term, the meaningful over the trivial. Without sacrifice, freedom cannot survive. Sacrifice builds character. It proves to you that you are capable of enduring hardship. The more you give up for your future, the more you respect yourself, and the stronger your character becomes. Sacrifice demands repetition. One act is not enough. Freedom requires many sacrifices over time. Comfort, distraction, fear, pride, all must be laid down to forge a life of strength. The strategist embraces sacrifice not with bitterness, but with pride. They see it as proof of their seriousness, their dedication, their strength. Sacrifice becomes their badge of honor. Freedom is not found in comfort. It is purchased with sacrifice. Each act of discipline is a payment toward a greater life, a down payment on a destiny only the strong will claim. Sacrifice is not about loss at all. It is about exchange. You give up what weakens you, and you gain what makes you unstoppable. That is the hidden price of freedom, and the reward is worth everything. Reality may seem fixed, but the truth is that it bends under the weight of habits. What you repeatedly do becomes who you are, and who you are determines the shape of your world. Habits are invisible architects, designing futures in silence. The strategist understands that habits are not small, they are forces. One repeated act can shift identity, reshape destiny, and bend outcomes. The greatest changes do not come from sudden effort, but from consistent patterns. Habits work like gravity, pulling you toward their direction. Good habits pull you upward into growth. Bad ones drag you downward into decay. The key is to design gravity that works in your favor. A single choice may feel meaningless, but repeated choices build momentum. Over time, repetition becomes automatic. The strategist knows that this automation is power. When discipline becomes habit, effort becomes effortless. Habits bend time. When you invest in them daily, progress compounds invisibly. Skills sharpen, resilience deepens, and opportunities multiply. What once seemed impossible becomes natural, simply because habit carried you there. The mind resists change at first, clinging to comfort, but the strategist pushes past resistance, knowing that habits are fragile in their creation, but unbreakable in their maturity. Persistence transforms weakness into permanence. Reality is bent not by intensity, but by consistency. A burst of effort may feel powerful, but only repeated effort rewires the mind and body. The strategist trusts in the slow grind, not the quick sprint. Habits carve identity. Each act declares, asterisk, this is who I am, asterisk. When repeated long enough, the declaration becomes truth. You no longer try to be disciplined, you simply are, because your habits prove it daily. Habits also create environments. The food you choose, the words you speak, the actions you repeat, all shape the world around you. Change the habit, and you change the environment. Change the environment, and you reinforce the habit. The strategist sees habits as weapons. Good habits sharpen focus, build resilience, and amplify strength. Bad habits corrode discipline, weaken resolve, and blur clarity. The battle is not against the world, but against patterns. Habits bend perception. When you practice gratitude, the world appears brighter. When you practice negativity, the world darkens. Reality reflects the habits of thought repeated daily in your mind. Discipline ensures that habits align with vision. Without discipline, habits drift, shaped by laziness and distraction. With discipline, they are chosen deliberately, each one aligned with the future you intend to build. Habits bend resilience. When you train yourself to act despite discomfort, discomfort loses power. The strategist grows stronger not because life is easier, but because their habits make them unshakable. Small habits carry massive leverage. Reading one page, lifting one weight, saving $1, all seem trivial alone, yet repeated, they reshape futures. The strategist treasures small actions, knowing their compounded power. Bad habits are chains disguised as comfort. They offer ease in the moment, but steal freedom in the long run. Breaking them requires replacing, not resisting, swapping the weak for the strong. Habits bend emotion. A body trained to move resists despair. A mind trained to focus resists distraction. A spirit trained in persistence resists giving up. Emotion follows action, and habits guide action. The strategist builds keystone habits, those that influence everything else. Waking early, exercising, writing, or reflecting can anchor entire days, turning chaos into structure. One strong habit often rewrites an entire life. Habits bend destiny. Each repeated action is a brick in the road ahead. The road you walk tomorrow is paved by the habits you practice today. The strategist walks deliberately, laying bricks with intention. Habits also bend relationships. Patterns of listening, speaking, and showing up create trust or destroy it. The strategist invests in habits of presence and respect, knowing they shape the quality of every connection. The war against laziness is fought through habits. Willpower may win today, but only habits ensure victory tomorrow. Discipline forges them until effort becomes second nature. Habits bend resistance. The first step is hard, but repetition weakens the struggle. Over time, what was once painful becomes easy, and what was once impossible becomes routine. Habits even bend chaos. When life throws storms, disciplined habits act as anchors. You may shake, but you do not break, because your habits keep you grounded when everything else collapses. The strategist does not wait for perfect habits. They build them through imperfection. Each failure is a chance to return stronger. Perfection is not the goal, persistence is. Habits bend reality because they bend you. And once you change, the world cannot remain the same. Discipline ensures that the bending does not break you, but remakes you into something unstoppable. Reality is not fixed. It is flexible, shaped by what you repeat. Forge the right habits, and you do not just live in reality, you bend it to your will. Excuses are the most polished chains the mind creates. They sound reasonable, they feel justified, and they disguise inaction as logic. The first step to silencing excuses is to strip them of their disguise and see them for what they are. Permission to remain weak. The strategist knows excuses thrive on comfort. They appear most when discipline is required, whispering, asterisk, you've done enough, you deserve a break, asterisk. Recognizing this voice as resistance is critical, because excuses gain power when believed, but die when ignored. Excuses come in endless forms: too tired, too busy, not ready, not good enough. Yet behind every excuse lies the same truth: fear of effort. Action, no matter how small, dissolves the illusion. Building action is not about waiting until conditions are perfect. It's about moving in spite of imperfection. Excuses demand certainty before action. The strategist refuses, choosing to act, while uncertainty still lingers. Excuses thrive in hesitation. The longer you wait, the louder they become. By acting quickly, you silence their grip before they can grow. Speed of decision is a weapon against delay. The disciplined mind rewrites excuses into opportunities. Asterisk, I'm too tired. Times becomes times. This is a chance to prove I can act when tired. Asterisk, each excuse is inverted into a reason for action, transforming weakness into strength. Excuses sound polite in the beginning. They mask themselves as self-care, as patience, as reasonableness. But their long-term cost is regret. The strategist chooses temporary discomfort over permanent disappointment. Action builds confidence. Each time you silence an excuse and take a step forward, you create proof of ability. That proof compounds until excuses no longer sound convincing. You become too strong for them to hold. The strategist understands that excuses multiply when goals are vague. Clarity cuts them down. When you know exactly what needs to be done, there is less room for negotiation. Action thrives on clear direction. Excuses lean on emotion. They play to feelings of fear, fatigue, or doubt. Discipline leans on principle. It does not ask how you feel. It asks what you've promised yourself. Principles drown excuses. Building action requires habit. Once movement becomes automatic, excuses lose their chance to argue. The strategist constructs habits like walls, blocking the entrance excuses use to creep in. Excuses feed on comparison. Asterisk. Others are better, others are ahead, so why bother? Asterisk. But action silences comparison by shifting focus back to your lane, your race, your progress. The only competition is yesterday's self. The enemy of excuses is accountability. When others expect you to show up, you silence laziness. The strategist builds circles where action is the standard, not the exception, leaving excuses no place to hide. Excuses often protect pride. They let you avoid trying because trying might mean failing, but by avoiding effort, you guarantee failure anyway. The strategist sacrifices pride for progress. Proving action is always safer than inaction. Action requires courage, not certainty. Excuses pretend you must know the outcome before starting. The strategist rejects this illusion, understanding that clarity comes through motion, not hesitation. Excuses breed in clutter. A chaotic environment fuels distraction, making it easier to justify inaction. The strategist clears their space, creating an environment that supports focus instead of undermining it. Discipline silences excuses by turning action into identity. When you see yourself as someone who acts no matter what, excuses lose their voice. Identity is louder than hesitation. Excuses thrive on stories. Asterisk. I'll do it tomorrow. I work better under pressure. I'll wait for inspiration. Asterisk. The strategist rewrites the story. Asterisk. I act now. I build pressure through consistency. I create inspiration by doing. Asterisk. Action does not have to be grand. A small step can defeat a big excuse. The strategist uses micro-actions to break inertia, proving that movement matters more than magnitude. Excuses live in comfort zones. They tell you not to stretch, not to risk, not to grow. Action destroys comfort zones, replacing them with new standards of strength and resilience. The disciplined mind anticipates excuses before they arrive. They prepare strategies to answer them. Times too tired. Times meets scheduled rest. Asterisk too busy. Times meets prioritization. Asterisk not ready. Times meets practice. Excuses are beaten before they speak. Excuses dissolve under momentum. Once you build a streak of action, breaking it feels harder than continuing. Momentum becomes armor, making excuses powerless against progress already in motion. The strategist reframes excuses as alarms. Each time one arises, it signals that growth lies ahead. Excuses don't point away from action. They point directly to the place action is most needed. Excuses may never vanish completely, but they lose authority. With every act of defiance, their voice grows weaker, while yours grows stronger. You stop asking permission and start taking command. The truth is revealed. Excuses are nothing but lies dressed in comfort. Discipline silences them, and action builds freedom. Each step forward is a victory not just over laziness, but over the weaker version of yourself. Pain is inevitable. Whether it comes from failure, struggle, or sacrifice, it is a constant companion in the pursuit of growth. But pain itself is not the enemy. It is raw energy, waiting to be redirected into something powerful. Most people run from pain. They seek comfort, hoping to avoid difficulty. Yet, in escaping pain, they strengthen its grip. The strategist does the opposite. They confront pain, transform it, and forge consistency from its fire. Consistency is not born in ease. It is born in discomfort. Pain tests resolve, exposing weakness. Those who endure it repeatedly become stronger, until showing up even when it hurts becomes second nature. Pain sharpens discipline. Each time you act in spite of it, you prove that feelings cannot control you. This proof builds confidence, and confidence builds habit. Over time, pain becomes the forge of resilience. The body learns through pain, muscles grow after strain, the mind grows after struggle, the spirit grows after sacrifice. The strategist embraces this truth. Pain is not punishment, but training. Consistency requires a shift in perception. Instead of seeing pain as a stop sign, the strategist sees it as a green light evidence that progress is being made. Pain becomes the signal that growth is near. Pain also builds patience. It slows you down, forces you to endure, and teaches you to accept that mastery takes time. In enduring pain, you also learn endurance itself. The strategist channels pain into structure. Instead of letting it scatter focus, they use it as a reminder to return to routine. Pain becomes the anchor that keeps them on track when distraction tempts them away. Consistency is forged when pain is expected, not avoided. By preparing for struggle, the strategist reduces its shock. They know hardship will come, and they are ready to turn it into fuel. Pain exposes excuses. When discomfort arrives, the weaker voice whispers reasons to stop. The disciplined mind silences those whispers, answering with action. Each time this happens, consistency grows stronger. The strategist learns to scale pain. Instead of fearing its size, they break it into manageable parts. 1 rep, 1 step, 1 hour. Each small act chips away at the weight, proving that pain can be endured piece by piece. Pain is also a teacher of humility. It reminds you that growth has a cost, that progress is never free. By bowing to the lesson of pain, the strategist gains wisdom others miss in their pursuit of ease. Turning pain into consistency means using it as a compass. The hardest tasks often bring the greatest rewards. The strategist seeks out what hurts, not to suffer, but to grow where others fear to tread. Consistency does not remove pain, it transforms your relationship with it. Over time, what once felt unbearable becomes routine, and what once seemed impossible becomes normal. Pain loses its power when endured often enough. The strategist also learns to use reflection. By reviewing past struggles, they see how pain shaped their growth. This perspective turns new pain into hope, because every past hurt became proof of progress. Pain is unavoidable in failure, but failure itself is not defeat unless you quit. The strategist uses the pain of failure as motivation, repeating the process until consistency leads them to victory. Consistency thrives on meaning. Pain without purpose crushes, but pain with purpose strengthens. The strategist connects every act of discomfort to their larger vision, ensuring each sacrifice feels worthwhile. Pain sharpens focus. When you're uncomfortable, the noise fades, and you are forced to confront the moment. This focus, repeated daily, builds habits that last far longer than fleeting comfort. Turning pain into consistency also requires gratitude. By being thankful for the chance to grow, even through hardship, the strategist shifts perspective. Gratitude makes pain feel less like a burden and more like a tool. Pain highlights weaknesses, but consistency transforms them into strengths. Each time you endure, you erode fragility, replacing it with toughness. Over time, weakness is reshaped into armor. The strategist sees pain as temporary, but the rewards of consistency as permanent. The discomfort fades, but the habits remain, creating freedom that far outlasts the momentary sting. Consistency is not about never falling, it's about always returning. Pain may knock you down, but the disciplined rise again, turning every setback into a step forward. The rhythm of rising becomes the rhythm of life. The secret is acceptance. Those who resist pain suffer twice, once from the discomfort and once from the frustration of avoiding it. The strategist accepts pain as part of the process, and in doing so, finds peace in persistence. Pain, when embraced, becomes identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who endures, someone who persists, someone who does not quit. That identity, forged in struggle, ensures that consistency becomes your natural state. Pain is not an obstacle to consistency, it is the foundation of it. By facing pain, transforming it, and using it as fuel, the strategist builds the unshakable habit of showing up, no matter what. Chaos is the natural state of life. Unexpected events, distractions, and obstacles constantly threaten to pull you off course. Without protection, you are tossed like a leaf in the storm. Discipline is the armor that allows you to stand firm when everything around you shakes. The strategist knows that chaos cannot be eliminated, only endured. Discipline provides the structure needed to withstand it. While the world bends and twists, discipline creates an unshakable core, a foundation no storm can destroy. In chaotic times, feelings cannot be trusted. Fear, stress, and panic distort judgment. Discipline bypasses emotion, guiding you to act according to principles and routines rather than unstable moods. Armor is heavy, but it saves lives. Discipline often feels demanding, but it is the very weight that keeps chaos from piercing your defenses. What feels like restriction in the moment becomes protection in the long run. Chaos attacks through distraction. The noise of endless options and temptations fractures attention. Discipline answers with focus, refusing to scatter energy. It shields the mind by narrowing it to what matters most. When chaos overwhelms others, the disciplined remain calm. This calm is not natural, it is trained. Discipline teaches you to breathe in disorder, to act in systems, and to find clarity when all else collapses. Discipline also guards against impulse. Chaos breeds rash decisions that make problems worse. The disciplined do not react blindly. They respond deliberately, ensuring that even in disorder, their actions serve progress. Armor does not stop arrows from flying, but it stops them from piercing flesh. Similarly, discipline does not erase difficulty, but it prevents difficulty from breaking you. It is a barrier between you and defeat. Chaos magnifies weakness. Those without structure collapse under pressure. But discipline transforms weakness into resilience, ensuring that cracks do not widen but harden into strength. Discipline also creates predictability in unpredictability. Even when the world is uncertain, you know what you will do, you will act, you will persist, you will stay the course. This discipline is not punishment, it is liberation. It frees you from excuses, from wasted time, from the trap of waiting for motivation that never lasts. When you forge unstoppable discipline, you no longer live at the mercy of moods or circumstances. You live by design. Every small, consistent act becomes a brick in the foundation of the life you want to build. Let this be your reminder. Success doesn't belong to the strongest or the luckiest. It belongs to the disciplined. And once you own that superpower, there is nothing left that can hold you back.